Terraria is an absolutely massive game, so big in fact that most people who reach the end and defeat Moonlord likely miss a lot of very helpful and fun features in the game that veterans and more knowledgeable players of the game often view as essential to their playthroughs. So in this video, I'm going to explain in broad strokes many of the more hidden or complex mechanics and features in Terraria, so you'll get to benefit from them in your next run or even your very first. Let's start with perhaps one of the most useful mini biomes in the game introduced in the 1.4.4 update. This is the Aether biome, otherwise known as the Shimmer. This pool of pink liquid can be invaluable for preserving resources, and many challenge runs rely heavily on its existence to even work. So what does it do? Well, it uncrafts anything that you throw into it, with rare exception. Most items that are craftable when they fall into the Shimmer will transform into its various components. You can even further shimmer the items that are uncrafted if some of those materials are also craftable themselves. So if you ever make something and then decide you don't want it, or at some point it is no longer useful for you and you want the materials back, you can simply throw it into the Shimmer and receive a complete refund on anything except for potions, which do not have a 100% return rate. Now, what about those rare exceptions that I mentioned? Well, a few items will never uncraft themselves, but will instead turn into some sort of alternative version of themselves. These include jungle armor, shadow armor, the necro gold and iron helmets, the extra regrowth, the mining shirt and pants, red and purple solution, gladiator armor, and more. Sometimes the exact result you'll get isn't always what you would expect, and although I have been talking about the Shimmer uncrafting things, it can also have an effect on many items that cannot be crafted, such as the biome chest keys, which can be shimmered into biome chests, but not vice versa. This also includes items you're more likely to have stumbled upon, like the lucky clover, which when shimmered turns into the wilted clover, and you cannot shimmer the wilted clover back into the original version. These are more niche changes that you're unlikely to discover though. That said, there are several permanent changes you might want to make, as they will give you permanent upgrades. Among these include life crystals, which give you the vital crystal, which when consumed speeds up natural health regeneration by 20%. Mana crystals give you the arcane crystal, which reduces mana regeneration delay and increases mana regeneration rate. Life fruit gives you the Aegis fruit, which increases defense by 4. Any fruit gives you the Ambrosia buff, which increases mining speed by 5% and placement speed of blocks and walls by 5% as well. A golden worm gives you the Gummy worm, which increases fishing power by 3, and a pink pearl, which is an item you can obtain from oysters while fishing in the desert, and we'll cover fishing later, when shimmered, gives the Galaxy Pearl, which increases luck by 0.03, which doesn't sound like much, but isn't that bad as a permanent boost. We'll also cover luck later. Then there's the Peddler's Hat that drops from the Traveling Merchant if you kill him, which turns into the Peddler's Satchel, which permanently increases the number of things the Traveling Merchant will sell. Those 7 permanent buffs are tied to your character and can only be used once. Generally, the first 4 are the easiest and most worthwhile to actively pursue in any regular run. One other permanent upgrade that I'm fairly sure is tied to the world rather than the character is the Advanced Combat Techniques, which you can get by shimmering a spell tome sold by the wizard. You'll notice it's Volume 2. Volume 1 is obtained by Blood Moon fishing, which we'll cover later. Another fishing item, the Enchanted Sundial, can be shimmered into the Enchanted Moondial. There's also the Alchemy Table, which can be shimmered into the Alchemy Flask, which we'll also talk about later. And finally, you can shimmer any pylon into the Aether Pylon, another thing we'll talk about later. There are a few more permanent upgrades, however, that you might enjoy, but they come with the caveat that you will have to have defeated Moonlord before you can get them. You can shimmer the Rod of Discord into the Rod of Harmony, which lets you teleport as frequently as you'd like without consequences. The Contaminator turns into the Terraformer, which has a great reach, and the Bottomless Water Bucket turns into the Bottomless Shimmer Bucket. Now, there is even more that you can do with the Shimmer, but for your sake and mine, I think we'll leave it there, as those are already all the most common uses of the Shimmer, and if you want to dive deeper into what they can do or what you can do with the Shimmer, then I'd recommend simply looking up the Shimmer on the wiki. Let's move on to the next feature that you'll likely have noticed but may not have wrapped your head around. Fishing. You have probably noticed little critters around your world, and maybe you've even picked up a can of worms. All these little critters can be captured with a bug net, and when you do, you'll notice most of them say that they have a certain amount of bait power. This means that they can be used for fishing. The bug net I mentioned can be purchased from the merchant as soon as he moves in. Bait can easily be found by breaking these background rocks and debris, primarily giving you worms, with the jungle offering a greater variety. Combining worms with stars can also upgrade your bait. So you have some bait. What do you do with it? First, you need to craft a fishing pole of some sort. There is a wood fishing pole, but its fishing power is so weak that you'd probably be better off never using it. Instead, make a fishing pole out of iron, lead, demonite, or crimtane bars, the latter for a little extra fishing power. That fishing power is a score that dictates what kind of fish you will get and how frequently. Now that you have baits and a fishing pole, you might be tempted to go to the nearest body of water and start fishing, and you can if you want, but there are a few things you should know. For one, you want to search for large bodies of water. If they are too small, then you will incur a penalty. If the lake is fewer than 300 tiles, you will be penalized. That said, the way that Terraria counts these tiles can be confusing when using natural pools of water, and even after years of playing the game and using fishing, I frankly still don't understand it too well. The general gist of it, though, is you're less likely to incur a penalty when the surface of the water is unhindered. The easiest place to go to start fishing without thinking about things like pool size is the ocean. That said, every biome, excluding mini biomes, has unique fish that you can catch in them. What are these fish useful for? Well, many of them can be crafted into potions with powerful effects. Some can be cooked at cooking pots into easy minor buffs that you can use as you play. Here's a quick overview of which fishing locations provide you with fish that craft various buffs. In the caves, you will find the cave fish that make endurance potions that provide a 10% damage reduction. These fish can uniquely be caught in any biome except the desert so long as it's in the cavern layer. In the corruption, you will find ebon koi that craft wrath potions which increase damage by 10%. In the crimson, you will find hemopiranhas that craft rage potions which increase critical strike by 10%. In the jungle, you'll find variegated lardfish that craft a summon potion which increases your max number of minions by 1. In the hollow, you'll find prismite which craft life force potions that increase your max health by 20%. All of these potions also require other ingredients apart from the fish in order to craft. Now, sometimes you can fish up unique items like crates, which can have a wide variety of items inside, such as weapons, accessories, ores and bars, potions, baits, and more. Each biome has its own specific crates as well that can drop unique items to that biome, often being weapons and accessories that you could just as easily find in the treasure chests within the same biome, but this could be your way of obtaining more of those items if there's not enough for your friends or you need more for a specific item you wish to craft. But maybe you're wondering how to better your odds so you get better fish. There are a few simple ways you can do this. Most easily, you can craft any chair or toilet and sit on it while fishing. Apart from that, you may need to put in a little extra effort for more fishing power. Near the ocean, there is a chance you'll find a guy sleeping in the water or sand. This is the angler. Every day in game, he'll give you a fishing quest to complete, and he'll tell you which biome you can find the fish in. If you return the fish to him before the end of the day, he'll give you a reward. Oftentimes, this includes fishing, sonar, or crate potions that will help make future fishing easier. If you continue doing his quests, he'll give you more equipment to help you fish better. Among these include the high-test fishing line that prevents your line from breaking, the tackle box to reduce how much bait you consume, various accessories that give you very niche information that also affect fishing power, but we won't be covering in this video. Given enough time, he'll even give you a golden fishing net or fishing rod. All of these can take many quests to obtain, so if you're doing this begrudgingly, then going this route for more gear may not be the best for you. Even so, there's a lot of very useful items the angler and fishing can get you when you build it out well. A few fishing poles you can find or purchase if you'd like to increase your fishing power with less work or effort include the fiberglass fishing pole found in Ivy chests, the mechanic's rod purchased from the mechanic only when the angler is present and during these 4 phases of the moon, and best of all, the sitting ducks fishing pole sold by the traveling merchant after Skeletron is defeated. All of the potions the angler gives you can also be crafted manually. Before we move on, there are 2 more unique fishing mechanics you should know. First, there is lava fishing, and second, blood moon fishing. Lava fishing is a slow task, but there are a few fun and unique drops you can get, such as dry bombs, the bottomless lava buckets, and the superheated blood that is a lava shark mount, which even if not the most useful, oftentimes is really fun to play around with. In order to fish in lava though, you either need a lava bait or some form of lava-proof fishing. The simplest way to accomplish this is by using hellstone bars and the bug net to craft the lava-proof bug net. You then use this to catch critters in the underworld, which will allow you to fish in lava. The golden bug net can also do this. Apart from that, the only way to fish in lava is with the lava-proof fishing hook, which is obtained by lava fishing, or the hotline fishing hook, which has a 1% chance of being obtained in hard mode from the angler after 25 fishing quests have already been completed. As for blood moon fishing, there's a little more fun but also challenge to be had here. If there's a blood moon, the water turns red, and there's a chance you'll fish up the wandering eye fish or zombie merman in pre-hard mode. These can be quite challenging enemies to defeat early in the game, but if you do, there's a chance they'll drop the blood rainbow, vampire frog staff, or chum caster, which uniquely makes it easier to fish up blood moon enemies. The blood rainbow can be very strong and has unique use cases, but most people don't bother with it. The vampire frog staff, meanwhile, can be a very helpful weapon for summoners. I don't view it as essential by any means, but it can be very good. In hard mode, 3 more enemies can be fished up, including the hemoglobin shark, blood eel, and dread nautilus. All of these are very tough, and their drops are most useful before fighting the mech bosses, so it is not for the faint of heart. The Hemogoblin Shark has a 12.5% chance of dropping a mage weapon, which is useless. Never farm for it. The Blood Eel has a 12.5% chance of dropping a flail called the Tripler Crippler, which is a very good weapon in the right conditions. The cream of the crop is the Dread Nautilus, which has a 100% chance to drop the Sanguine Staff in Expert or Master mode. In Classic mode, it's only a 50% drop chance, but it's a powerful summon weapon with very good targeting. Many summoner mains will go out of their way for this weapon, and a tip is that it works best when paired with the Firecracker Whip drop from the Wall of Fresh. Now, everything I just covered is only a surface level understanding of fishing. If you want to know more, I'd recommend this video by Sorbet Cafe, which goes into excruciating detail of everything you need to know about fishing. There are other guides out there that are much shorter and will almost certainly cover a few more or different things than what I did here in this video, but that is the one that I would recommend if you want to do a real deep dive into this mechanic. Next up, we're going to cover wiring. This is Terraria's version of Redstone for you Minecraft people out there. There's nothing you can really do with wiring until you have defeated Skeletron and freed the mechanic. You have certainly noticed her if you have reached this point and were likely overwhelmed by her shop and weren't sure what to do with it. To start, let's make life easier by purchasing every colored wrench, the wire cutters, the mechanic's lens, and ruler and 60 wire. Bring all of these to the Tinker's Workshop. First craft the multicolored wrench, and then everything else will combine into the grand design. This item is your best friend when working with wires. Now, when you purchase the mechanical ruler, you probably noticed your entire screen got filled with this grid, but don't worry, you can get rid of this grid by clicking on this tiny little button on the side of your inventory. While at it, you can also check what the other buttons do by hovering over them. Having this in your inventory is already enough to accomplish one of the most universally helpful things you can do with wiring, and that is to highlight or expose any wiring you come across in your world. Tired of falling for traps? Well, these bright red lines the Grand Design highlights will warn you about them ahead of time, and you don't even need to break the trap because with the Grand Design, you can simply cut the wire to prevent them from working. There are plenty of people who will use wiring simply for that purpose, but we're going to cover a few of the simple things you will probably find to be the most useful here. But first, let's make sure you understand how the Grand Design works. If you right-click, a small menu will appear with 5 symbols. 4 are the same shape with different colors. Those represent 4 different colors of wire that you can place. It doesn't matter that the wiring you have in your inventory is red. If you choose a different color here, then it'll change the wire's color when placed. The 5th symbol is for placing actuators, which we'll cover in a moment. When placing wiring, you can choose any color you wish, and you can even choose to place 2 different colors at once. The thing to know about wiring colors is that they can cross or intersect without interfering with each other's signals, while intersecting the same color will connect all the inputs into one. If you wish to remove wiring, simply right-click again and you'll go into the wire cutting mode, where you can choose which color of wire you wish to cut. With that understanding, let's cover the 2 most helpful items sold by the mechanic: teleporters and actuators. Teleporters do exactly what you'd imagine: teleport you between 2 locations. For this to work, you need to connect the teleporters with wiring and connect the wiring to some activation item, such as a pressure plate, switch, lever, or even a timer. It can cost you an arm and a leg to afford the wiring across long distances, but apart from pylons, this is the only way to instantaneously travel anywhere in the world, and they are not limited by biomes like pylons are. Actuators, meanwhile, allow you to make solid block walls non-solid. You can activate actuators using wiring, although making an actuation rod will be very helpful while working with them to manually actuate them. These are most often used to make much more detailed builds. However, a very simple contraption you can set up to make your base safer is an actuator door with pressure plates on either side. This will allow you to walk through freely while keeping almost all enemies out and your NPCs in, so long as you use a pressure plate that's only activated when a player steps on it. Wiring, just like fishing, has so many more unique uses, and there are insane things you can do with it when you set your mind to it. To dive deeper, I'd recommend another video by Sorbet Cafe that will explain a lot more of the possibilities with wiring that I will not be covering here. Then there's the Old One's Army. To start this event, you must defeat the evil boss of your world and then find the Tavern Keep. You will sell the Eternia Crystal Stand and Eternia Crystals. What keeps many people from using this thing is how annoying it can be to set up the proper spawn conditions, but so long as you place the stand on a flat-ish surface with a minimum of 61 blocks on either side of it, it'll work just fine. It doesn't need to be perfectly flat, but will be very helpful if it is, and bear in mind that none of these blocks can be platforms. Before you place a crystal in the stand, press the Eternia Crystals option from the Tavern Keep and he will give you Defender medals. With these, you can purchase up to 2 of the 4 rods, but you will only really need 1. I find the Ballista and Explosive ones to work best, but the Lightning Aura one is also good if sometimes annoying to set up, and the Flame Burst is just factually worse than the rest. If you have an Eternia Crystal in your inventory and right-click on the stand, the event will start and give you Ethereum mana. This mana is solely used to place sentries from the Ballista, Explosive, Flame Burst, and Lightning Aura staves, with each sentry costing 10 Ethereum mana to place. The other things that happened when you placed the crystal is 2 portals appeared on either side of you, and you can no longer place or mine any blocks. From the portals, enemies will begin appearing and you'll see a progress bar on the bottom right. This event can be difficult for new players, but you'll do fine with some good ranged and piercing weapons. Preferably ranged piercing weapons, and if you consistently use the rod you purchased from the Tavern Keep. Generally, I find it most useful to load up one side with the majority of the sentries while you handle the other side in single player. Before any mechs have been defeated, the invasion will last for 5 waves, with the 5th one generally ending after you defeat the Dark Mage. If you defeat a wave and notice a long countdown on the crystal, you can right-click on the crystal to immediately start the next one. There aren't a lot of helpful drops from this aside from the war table, but apart from that, defeating the Old One's army will also allow you to use the Tavern Keep sentries even without Ethereum mana or the event active. If you'd like to keep up with the army as you progress, I'd recommend saving at least 15 medals before fighting any of the mechs. Summoners will also find this event to be easier because the sentries that all classes should be using get buffed even more by summoner equipment. After the first mechanical boss is slain, you can fight the 2nd tier Old One's army with more powerful enemies and a new boss. It will also now last for 7 waves. The Tavern Keep will now sell the more powerful canes, and the 15 defender medals you saved should go into one of these. There are some unique and good weapons you can get from the ogres, but generally the 2nd tier is not all that helpful for anything but farming for the 60 medals you'd want before defeating Golem. After Golem is defeated, you'll get the 3rd tier Old One's army, which is also 7 waves long but ends with a much more dangerous boss, Betsy, who drops some amazing weaponry and great wings. The 3rd tier can be very difficult to beat if you're not playing Summoner, so this will either be a fun challenge to try and unravel or a frustrating grind fest depending on your mindset. For more information on the Old One's army, including building better arenas, sentries to use, strategies, loadouts, and drops, I'd recommend this video by Keppels. Those were 4 of the biggest and most useful game features I wanted to cover in this video that will greatly alter how you play the game or open the door into mechanics you could spend dozens of hours learning. The rest of the features we'll be able to cover much more quickly and are generally a lot easier to set up or figure out. The first one I want to cover is Pylons. Ever since the 1.45 update in January, this game feature has become a million times easier to work with. So if you've played before then, you may be relieved to hear about this change. What you've likely noticed is the Forest Pylon being sold by some of the NPCs at the houses you almost certainly built at spawn. What you might not know is that if you build housing in any of the other major biomes and have 2 NPCs move into it, including the town slams and pets, then they will sell a different pylon relating to that biome. It doesn't matter which NPCs they are, only that at least one of them has a shop so you can actually purchase the pylon from them. There's one pylon for the forest, desert, tundra, jungle, caves, ocean, hollow, mushroom, underworld, and aether. Once 2 or more of these have been set up, you can open your map when standing nearby and teleport to any other pylon. Note that you can only have 1 pylon for each biome active in your world, and there is a universal pylon which is sold by the zoologist after completing the bestiary, so almost nobody ever sees this thing. But pylons are your reason to make some housing outside of the forest at spawn. Related to that is NPC Happiness. NPCs will be happier or less happy when living with different NPCs and in different biomes. The importance of this is happier NPCs will have lower prices and unhappy ones more expensive prices. To try and figure this out yourself, you can open the bestiary using this button and look up your NPCs. The biome they prefer will be indicated. You can also click on their happiness dialogue and see what they say, or look at this little smiley face and percentage next to their shop. What you need to know about this percentage is that the higher it is, the less happy the NPCs might be. A little confusing perhaps, but maybe it'll be easier to understand like this. The percentage you see there is the percentage of the base shop prices that you'll be paying. So if it reads 75%, you'll be paying 75% of the original price, and 125% means you'll be paying 125% of the base price. This will also affect the price NPCs will pay you when you sell items to them, but in reverse, where a lower percentage works in your favor. To learn more about this mechanic, I recommend this video by Terraria. Now let's take a look at 3 helpful mechanics that will help buff your character while playing. The first are the buff stations or activated furniture. This includes the sharpening station, which increases melee weapon armor penetration by 12 and is either found in underground cabins in the jungle or is sold by the merchant in hard mode. There's the ammo box sold by the arms dealer in hard mode, which grants a 20% chance not to consume ammo. The bewitching table found in the dungeon that increases your max number of minions by 1. The war table dropped by dark mages fought at the end of the Old One's army in tier 1 before defeating any mechanical bosses, which increases your max number of sentries by 1. The crystal ball sold by the wizard in hard mode that gives various magic buffs. The alchemy flask, which is obtained by shimmering the alchemy table that increases potion durations by 20%, and the slice of cake freely given to the player when you talk to the party girl during a party, which increases movement and mining speed by 20%. All of those provide buffs that last until you either die or leave the game, except for the slice of cake, which only lasts for 2 minutes. Most of these are pretty easy to obtain, and you can determine if their various buffs are something you'd want to pursue. But I want to dive a little deeper into the alchemy flask and alchemy table, because what you might not have realized is that these will allow you to craft potions with a chance that the materials are not consumed. It says that in the tooltip, but it's something I think can be lost on new players, and the shimmered alchemy flask has the same effect. The only downside is that it takes up 1 more tile of space. If you are trying to craft potions before or even without either of these, you simply need to place a glass bottle, lesser healing potion, or even a few others on a table or platform. Secondly, there's the more confusing imbuing station sold by the Witch Doctor. The buffs made here specifically upgrade only whips and melee weapons, and can grant those weapon types quite the damage bonus with certain flasks. The most common ones to use are the Flask of Ichor and the Flask of Cursed Flames, although the Flask of Nanites is a severely underrated one that will likely be a huge help to summoners during events. These flasks last a very long time, and unlike potions and buff stations, they carry over even after you die for some reason. Thirdly, you can create or find several passive buffs to increase your stats in certain areas. These include campfires, heart lanterns, stars in a bottle, and bass statues. The campfires and heart lanterns increase your health regen within a certain range, stars in a bottle increases mana regeneration, and bass statues increase your defense by 5. All of those are crafted except for the bass statue, which you can occasionally find out in the open in treasure rooms in the desert or inside of the chests. Let's take a look at the game settings. I honestly don't know what the defaults are anymore, but I'd check these settings during your run. Under General, at the bottom is an option to turn auto fire on or off. Turning this on will allow you to hold the attack button rather than click it every time you want to attack. You can also turn on auto pause, which means that whenever your inventory is open, the game will pause. A lot of people don't use this, but for a newer player, it could be very helpful to not have to worry about what's happening on the screen while you check out the items you've collected or organize your inventory. Speaking of, there is a button specifically made for sorting your inventory that will help sort things out. It puts them into broad groups, but could help distinguish between the more unique and mundane items. The bestiary button is up there as well, which can give you more information on various enemies. There's the sort to nearby chest button, a massive time saver that places all the items in your inventory except for the ones in your hotbar or favorited ones into the nearby chests with the same item and enough room to hold them. To prevent this from happening, hold Alt and favorite the item. When crafting, you can click on the little hammer to open this massive menu. It has tabs to sort between the kind of item that you wish to craft, and you can search for specific items. Right-clicking the hammer will revert to the old system if you prefer. There's also the button to toggle on and off crafting from nearby chests, which can be useful if you feel overwhelmed by the number of items. Next to those buttons is the banner crafting menu. When you slay 50 of most enemies, and this will continue happening with every interval of 50, or in rare cases, more or less than 50 enemies, you can craft a banner. By crafting and placing this banner, you will double the amount of damage dealt to that enemy and half how much damage that they deal to you, so long as you're close enough to the banner. Also in classic mode, those buffs are halved. Now is about time to mention the Sky Islands and Wyverns. It's not unlikely you discovered these on your own, or would discover them naturally, but noobs I've introduced to the game are about 50-50 on finding them. If you find a gravitation potion while exploring, drink it and hit the up key to ascend to the sky and start heading in either direction in search of these Sky Islands. They have an accessory you'll likely love, the Lucky Horseshoe, which negates fall damage, the Shiny Red Balloon, which increases jump height and is a lot more helpful than that sounds, the Celestial Magnet that only mages will benefit from, and the Star Fury, which is a great early game weapon that can also be helpful for exploring. There is a really rare chance you'll find fledgling wings, but I mean very very, very rare, but they provide a small amount of flight, slow fall if you hold the jump button, and fall immunity. In hard mode, after the wall is defeated, you can go to these sky islands and wait for wyverns to appear. They can be quite dangerous until you learn their pattern, but killing them gives you souls of flight, a key ingredient to craft your own wings in hard mode. Give the souls to the guide to learn what wings you can craft. The rest of these don't have a lot of correlation to each other, so we'll go through them quickly. You might have noticed the guide telling you that you need an Ectomist to craft certain items. The way you get an Ectomist is by placing at least 7 tombstones in the general area. It's not unlikely you haven't created one of these on accident already. If there are sunflowers in the area, they'll prevent the Ectomist from occurring, so remove them if they are in the way, or place them if you want to keep the Ectomist itself away and for whatever reason don't want to break the tombstones. Generally, the most useful item you can craft with this is the Gravedigger's Shovel, made with wood and iron or lead, making it very easy to craft, and it bulldozes through soft blocks like dirt, mud, sand, and snow. Another thing you can check is what the NPCs are selling in the Ectomist. Several of the items can be fun to play with. The Painter and Dryad in particular sell some unique items in hard mode with an Ectomist. If you're ever having a hard time finding voodoo demons so you can summon the Wall of Fresh, simply make a house in the underworld over a pool of lava and mine out the bottom so the guide falls in. This will summon the wall. Pet NPCs can be purchased from the zoologist using these licenses. The cat license is always available. The dog license is available when the bestiary is 25% complete, and the bunny license is available when it's 40% complete. You can only ever get one of these NPCs, but if I'm not mistaken, you can purchase more licenses to change which kind of dog, cat, or bunny you get. Golfing is something most people ignore by default, but if you find the golfer in the underground desert and mine a tunnel straight down through your world, you can very easily whack a golf ball into a golf cup for a couple of minutes to increase your golf score. This will increase the number of vanities sold by the clothier, but more importantly, after Skeletron is defeated, and if your golf score is high enough, the golfer will sell the golf cart keys, giving you the golf cart mount. It may look like it's a goofy golf cart, but it's actually one of the most busted mounts in the game, greatly increasing jump height while also providing immunity frames after ramming enemies at top speed, which is very easy to reach. The moon events you've probably stumbled upon, same with the solar eclipse, but know that these events can drop pretty useful equipment, and for the moon events, the drop rates increase as you go along. As a general rule, the eclipse is most useful for melee players with a good drop for summoner and ranger as well. The frost moon is primarily good for mages with some good ranger drops, and the pumpkin moon is primarily for summoner gear with a good ranger drop and 2 of the game's best mounts. There are 2 bosses in particular you are very likely to have missed, the Empress of Light and Duke Fishron. Both drop very good weapons and equipment, with Fishron being summonable the moment hard mode begins, and Empress not being summonable until post Plantera. That said, a new player should consider both of them on tier as being post Plantera, or better yet, post Golem. To summon Duke Fishron, you need to find truffle worms in the glowing mushroom biome. They will run away if you get close to them and don't catch them fast enough, so when you approach, make sure you have a net ready. It's helpful to have the guide to critter companionship sold by the zoologist so as to prevent you from killing critters like truffle worms on accident. Once caught, you need to fish with it in one of the oceans to summon the boss. Prismatic lacewings spawn on the hollow surface between 7:30 p.m. and 12 a.m. in game. To tell the time, here's a crafting recipe for a platinum or gold stopwatch. These lacewings can be very hard to find, and they will only spawn on hollowed grass, sand, or pink ice. If your hollow spawned over the jungle, you should consider making a new hollow elsewhere. To spawn the boss, simply kill the lacewing. It'll be easiest to do this in the hollow, as the lacewing will despawn very quickly in any other biome. It's also best to start the battle with this boss early in the night, as the moment it turns to day, Empress of Light will become enraged, and any of her attacks will one-shot you. If you take this as a challenge and summon and defeat the boss during the day, you'll be rewarded with a very strong summon weapon. Keep in mind, this is very difficult to accomplish. You may have encountered some weapons with unique ammo types while you played, such as the stake launcher or nail gun, but wondered how these weapons were useful with the very limited amount of ammo the bosses or enemy gave you. Well, if ever you have a weapon with a unique ammo type, you can actually purchase most of those ammo types from the arms dealer. All you have to do is have the corresponding weapon in your inventory. Similarly, the Demolitionist will sell dry, wet, lava, or honey bombs so long as you have the corresponding bomb in your inventory. To disable a buff, including deactivating a minion, you can simply close your inventory and right-click on the corresponding buff. Of course, this does not work with debuffs. To set up a bed, you need to create a house or structure using blocks and walls. You don't need a light source or other furniture, but with a closed structure with walls and blocks, works. You can right-click the foot of the bed to set your spawn point and right-click the head of the bed to make time move faster during either day or night. There's this old bug, now feature, called Hoiks. You might have accidentally found yourself interacting with these, but the simplest and most useful way to use them is to make one-way walls. To make a Hoik, you need to place 2 blocks or a platform and a block next to each other and hammer one of them into an angle. That's a really broad way of putting it, but you'll likely find the most use out of hammering 3 platforms against the wall, allowing you to shoot through the wall while enemies can't reach you. You can also walk through the wall by holding the down button as you run into it. Once again, Sorbet Cafe has an in-depth explanation of how to use these Hoiks in all their various forms in this video. Torch God is a boss that exists in the game with no health bar. You spawn it by placing at least 101 torches within a 41 by 41 rectangular grid on the player's center anywhere below the surface. Once it starts, the screen will become darker and little flaming torch projectiles will slowly fly towards you. These can be dangerous in higher difficulties and hard to dodge at first, but with a little practice, it's easy to complete, at which point you get Torch God's Favor, which, when consumed, permanently changes your character, so whenever you place a regular torch, it is converted into the correct biome torch. How is that helpful? Well, placing the correct biome torches gives you a luck bonus, which is a mechanic I still don't understand very well, but placing biome torches at the very least I find can help reduce the amount of time it takes to farm Souls of Light and Night. For more information on luck and how to maximize it, I'd recommend one of these 2 videos. I hope you learned something new in this video and it will help you while you play Terraria, and if you want a more by-the-numbers guide on how to beat the game, you can watch this video.